All right, welcome to the review show. This is a
Oh,
series on Tarqaron where we look back on a movie that we previously reviewed, at least 2 years removed, and then we look at we reflect on our thoughts on the movie if they've changed at all, as well as check out a random positive review and a random negative review from random
mm.
critics that are through Rotten Tomatoes. I just scroll through and find a couple. So Alec does not know what movie it is yet.
I
I'll
do not.
read a couple of our quotes from the review previously,
Mm.
see if you can guess it from that, and then we'll go from there. All right.
I feel like I've done okay at this, but
All right. So Alex said, I think it's very prescient. I feel like a lot of people can easily relate to this movie. I know I could relate to this movie, and that was why it hurts so much in a good way.
okay, interesting. Interesting. Prescient. It hurts so good. Hurts so much in a good way.
Anything spring to
Yeah.
mind from that?
I remember saying this at some point about some movie, but I don't.
Hmm.
I can't off the top of my off the dome. I don't remember.
All right. Well, I said, is it debatable? Is this not just a really immoral business practice? Not really a take on the movie, the quality of the
Hmm.
movie, but
No. Huh. I'm like racking my brain as to what this could be.
hmm,
It was a couple years ago now, right?
at least
So at least a couple years ago. It could have been longer. Um.
we've been going for some years now. This is
We
as
have
long as
been, yeah.
before March 2023.
Yeah. Okay, it's prescient and hurt in a good way. Wait. Say the quote one more time.
I think it's very prescient. I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
people can easily relate to this movie. I know I could relate to this movie, and that was why it hurt so much in a good way.
Movies I can relate to. A movie being prescient as well. And then you said, "Is this really? Can we just say that it's immoral?" What?
Is it debatable? Is this not just a really immoral business practice?
I mean, it sounds sort of like it sounds sort of like what you said there is just like that's like The Godfather, but like why would I call it prescient and also extremely relatable? That seems weird. Um, I really
Well, a lot
relate
of
to The
people could easily
Godfather.
relate to this movie. I know I could.
Yeah, I know. I know. Mm,
And then I'm like, okay, guys, this is not just a really immoral business practice, or what?
yeah. Is this debatable at all?
All right, do you have any guess?
I can't. So like, I'm thinking like West Side Story. Um, that's like that's kind of like the only thing that's springing to mind right now. But I don't know. I'm not sure what it is.
The correct answer is, and the movie we're going to talk about today is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh
Yeah,
yes. Okay,
it's an
sure.
immoral big business practice. Yeah.
Yeah, very immoral business practice. Yeah. Hmm.
So we both gave this movie a 9 out of 10 back in the day.
Fantastic
This was
movie.
back from a season of giving, which we did
Yeah.
for
Oh,
one or
yeah.
2 years in
Hmm.
like it was like either Thanksgiving or it was November or December. I can't remember which. I think it was
Mm.
December,
I
where
think it was for December. Yeah.
we each brought two movies that the other person hadn't seen as like a gift to them to watch a movie.
Hmm.
Um, and I think we should do that more often, by the way, but
Yeah,
not just
I
for a season
agree.
of giving.
Yeah, I agree.
But so I brought two, you brought two. This is one I brought, so I had seen it before at the time. And this was my
Hmm.
second time watching. We both gave it a 9 out of 10. Do you
Mm.
feel any differently on it now, or?
I don't think so. No. I haven't seen it again since I
Yeah.
watched it. But I still feel very positively about excuse me about the film. I really yeah, I thought it was wonderful. It was a great and prescient film. I think in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
like in how disconnected we can be from each other. I think that's sort of what I think. Kind of what I meant by I'm assuming is probably what I meant in whatever context I was talking about that in. But um, Yeah, I think it's great. I still have very positive feelings towards it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And it's cool how it plays with you. Like I said, it did pay for a second watch for myself because
Mm,
you appreciate certain things more. Because when they first present the movie to you, it's like, look at them, these two for meeting for the first time, and you find out later it wasn't actually the first time. They had actually already had their memory wiped, and they're meeting multiple times, and the
right.
whole timeline's blurred at points. And there's some cool stuff with it.
Hmm.
I only have minor little gripes with it, but primarily I love it for what it is. The focus on the relationship and how it essentially devolves into like a toxic or bad relationship at times, and it really was just like at the end of the day, it's like F it. We're gonna keep trying. We're gonna try it. We might have had our memories wiped, and we're saying all this horrible stuff about it, but it's what I'm feeling now. I don't
Mm,
feel that way about you right now, so
right.
try.
Right. Yeah.
But it's so interesting. It's almost like a simple take on like how this technology will work. Because if you try to think of the practicality of it, of like they're sending these things in the mail to people to say like, just so you know, their memories have been wiped. Don't mention it. And just to expect that to like work in any rational way is like as if people wouldn't immediately like, what the hell is this, and it'd blow up the whole spot
Yeah.
without like someone on the inside having to send out tapes like at the end. you know. But there's something nice about that approach, something
Mm,
refreshing about it. All right, so we're gonna take a look at a positive review and a negative review. The movie was
right.
received very well, so there's a lot less negative reviews. So I was trying to find one kind of interesting. Just skimming through different ones. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
The positive review comes from Washington Post. All right, by Anne Hornaday on Friday, March 19th, 2004.
All right.
So
A WAPO. There we
fresh
go. It's a
out, fresh out of release.
fresh out. Yeah.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a rabbit hole of a movie, inviting viewers on a dizzying plunge through love, loss, and finally, consciousness itself. The story of a nondescript everyman named Joel Barish, Jim Carrey, who falls in and out of love with a willful free spirit named Clementine Krasinski, Kate Winslet, and then undergoes a futuristic procedure to forget her. The movie would seem to be about two people who connect, break up, and try to find their way back to one another. But it's also about every synaptic fuse and hiccup that make romance and self-deception and hope and heartbreak possible. Ingenious, exhilarating, funny, and profound, Eternal Sunshine arrives as a well-timed spring breeze to blow away the detritus of a surpassingly dull winter.
Oh. Okay. Detritus, eh? We're really throwing
Mhm.
that out there, huh?
Written by Charlie Kaufman, being John Malkovich adaptation, the film bears his signature stamp of whacked-out humor combined with an erudite interest in philosophy, neuroscience, and the plasticity of desire. The title is taken from a poem by Alexander Pope. And where he's always had a deeply humanist bent, his scripts are clever, but never at the expense of his characters. This might be Kaufman's warmest movie yet. It's certainly his most out-and-out romantic, as he explores not only Joel and Clementine's relationship, but how they construct that relationship in their own minds and memories. Here, Joel and Clementine meet and embark on a year-long affair. When they go through an ugly breakup, Clementine hires a firm called Lacuna. Is that how it's pronounced? Lacuna? Lacuna? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. Lacuna.
To
I
erase her
remember.
memories of Joel. The white-coated memory doctor, Tom Wilkinson, and his young, slightly gonzo staff, Mark Ruffalo, Kirsten Dunst, and Elijah Wood, fly
Yeah, I
their
know. That's
trade
such a
by having
what a
clients bring in every memento that reminds them of the soon-to-be forgotten. I also think about that as well. Like, you just have to bring in, like, a box of all the stuff that reminds you of them, as if, like some people, you're in, like, decades-long relationship with someone, you're expected to find
mm.
everything that'll remind you of that person.
That could be
Jesus.
anything, everything, literally everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like my house. Here's my house. Yeah, yeah. Here's my kids. Imagine.
Damn.
Imagine you have
Take my
kids
kids
with
away.
someone, and then that
Yeah.
would be weird. All right. The patients are then hooked up to a computer and systematically purged of every offending memory while they sleep. Outrageous, sure, but the surrealism is propelled by such a feeling of spontaneity that viewers can easily believe, as Joel suggests in a prologue, that it all happened just last month. Valentine's Day 2004 to be exact. When Joel finds out that he's been erased, he's miffed and decides to do the same to Clementine. Much of the film transpires while he's undergoing the procedure, a journey through ever-opening doors of perception that Joel experiences as if in a waking dream. Joel's backward reconstruction of his relationship with Clem and his last-ditched efforts to keep some memories before she is lost and gone forever is indescribably complex, and director Michael Gondry choreographs it with confidence and superb control. A former music video director who directed Kaufman's overlooked Human Nature, another romance with philosophic and scientific preoccupations, Gondry has decided to leave behind the computer-generated images that have seduced so many of his peers. Mostly he dramatizes Joel's head trip, using sound design, staging, and low-tech visual effects. In one of the film's most powerful scenes, Joel enters another realm of consciousness, a transition represented by the lights behind him going off one by one. The results, in their intricate detail and execution, are nothing short of brilliant, from the book spines going blank in the background of one of Joel's rapidly degrading memories to the film's emotionally devastating set piece in which a beach house crumbles and fills with sand while Joel and Clementine face a pivotal choice. Yeah, there was some cool stuff they did with that.
Yeah.
When he's going through that whole sequence. Yeah, I knew what they're talking about with the lights, and it's like coming in on him, and then there's some cool transitions.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I think kind of like going what they were saying, like that the sort of dreamlike quality for a lot of these, all of this, the bits and pieces of the film. Yeah, it is visually arresting. You could say you call it there. There we go. There's a phrase they might use in here. I don't know.
It's visually arresting. Yes.
Yeah.
Working with cinematographer Ellen Kuris, production designer Dan Lee, and editor Valdis Skarsdottir, Gondry follows Joel's hopscotch through his own mind with the seamless fluidity the material demands. As densely layered and intuitively constructed as the plot is, viewers are never unsure of where they stand, even when time swoops, circles, and folds in on itself. Clementine's ever-changing hair color also helps. That's true. It has a nice little device as well that you could tell, like, okay, this is where we're at, kind of in the timeline. This color. What's more, Gondry has elicited formidable performances from his two lead players, each of whom has been cast against type in a difficult role. Even when forced to wear costumes and wigs that make her look like Pippi Longstocking after an acid-fueled trip to the thrift market, Winslet maintains a reassuring equilibrium. It takes an actor of her steadiness to play someone this unhinged. For his part, Carey hasn't shown this much range and focus since The Truman Show, in which he played another character caught up in competing notions of reality. The degree of difficulty here, though, has been exponentially increased, as Carey is asked to act out shifts in time and emotion within moments, often in a single shot. He rises to the challenge with ease, humor, and depth of feeling that will surprise those fans who still insist on thinking of him as Ace Ventura. The supporting cast is awfully good, too, especially Ruffalo, who bravely abandons any pretense of vanity in a role that at one point has him dancing awkwardly, dressed only in thick black glasses and jockey shorts. It's one of the film's more antic moments, and yet another example of a sequence that in any hands other than Kaufman and Gondry's would likely have come off as impossibly forced and self-conscious. Instead, like all the other scenes, it plays effortlessly and helps move the story to its poignant and wholly unexpected conclusion. How sweetly ironic that Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind would turn out to be the perfect movie about love's inevitable imperfections. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is rated R for language and drug and sexual contact.
Oh,
right.
Let's get that. Slip that in there.
Very nice, Anne. Very nice right up from Anne.
Yeah.
Well written.
Yeah.
Beautiful language.
Yeah, very loquacious. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Eloquent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well said, and I like how she actually shouted out, like some people they often don't shout out, like cinematographers and other people that worked on it.
The art of the film,
Pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I agree with most of the points, right?
Yeah. Honestly, it's hard to disagree in most of the points.
Those are the two performances. I think Ruffalo's okay. You know,
Yeah.
they never stood out to me, but I think the two leads are great. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially the like Jim Carrey's range is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
This was this period where he was like breaking out a lot more, into away from comedy, and this is like the most obvious example of like, wow, he's actually like a really good actor.
Mm-hmm. So this negative review is pretty lengthy. You know, I try not to get lengthy ones, but it was hard to actually really find. And a lot of these
Interesting.
negative reviews were like not. It was like page not found, page not found.
Oh,
So,
they were like, oh, gotcha.
but
Okay,
this one from March 29th, 2004 as well.
all right, cool.
But feel free to
Okay,
stop down at different parts if you want to.
yeah. So this is Eternal Sunshine Left My Mind Spotless
Ooh.
by Andrew Sarris for The Observer. Michael Gondry's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from a screenplay by Charlie Kaufman didn't work for me despite. It doesn't say. Oh, I guess that's kind of weird. So normally with the byline or the
Huh?
blurb, they
Yeah.
usually finish the sentence. That's kind of weird. Michael Gondry's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from a screenplay by Charlie Kaufman didn't work for me despite, or perhaps because of, all the rave reviews it's received. Since Kate Winslet, who plays hippie chick Clementine Krasinski, has always held a special place in my heart ever since she romped around in Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures, 1994. The prospect of that's a reference. The prospect of her involvement in an obsessive love story with Jim Carrey seemed well nigh irresistible. What could possibly go wrong? Or rather, what did go wrong?
Hmm.
For one thing, Mr. Carrey plays Joel Barish, who is hardly funny at all. Instead, he's a sullen, almost menacingly withdrawn and uncommunicative fellow. In the
Fellow.
beginning, in the beginning of the film, we see him struggle out of bed to go to work, commuting by train from Rockville Center to New York. While standing on the crowded platform in an ugly woolen hat, he suddenly races across the track to catch an empty commuter train going to its last stop at Montauk. From a public phone booth in Montauk, he calls in sick to the office and proceeds to walk whimsically on the lonely, wintry beach. A lone woman, all bundled up in the distance, walks towards him, but he doesn't acknowledge her because, as he confesses to a voiceover, he's much too shy and inhibited to make eye contact with a woman he doesn't know. Okay, already, what?
He isn't.
We're
Well,
complaining because Jim Carrey's not funny?
for one thing,
I'm
yeah, he hasn't really made a point about it yet, though.
Yeah, he
So he
hasn't.
said he
I'm
is
not
hardly
sure.
funny at all, which is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, he said, what could
yeah,
possibly go wrong? And immediately
yeah,
says, for one thing.
Mr. Carey plays him who's hardly funny at all. So that's the thing.
Yeah,
I
it's like, is
mean,
that it? Well, I guess we'll keep going, see if there's an actual point here. Since Miss Winslet plays the woman, it's clearly up to her to make the first move if the story is ever going to take off, and she doesn't disappoint. Indeed, she is so shamelessly aggressive in her pursuit of the terminally reticent Joel that it soon becomes evident, as one reviewer has already noted, that Miss Winslet has been assigned the obstreperous Jim Carrey part, and Mr. Carrey the almost maidenly Kate Winslet role.
wait, okay.
Right? I don't know how you see it this way, but as abrasive as Clementine becomes in order to force Joel out of his emotional shell, the situation is not directed for laughs. It is his most serious part, in quotation, serious part, since Frank Darabont's The Majestic, 2001. And Mr. Carrey is frozen in a humorless frenzy throughout most of the film. By the way, have you ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
It's not great, but I remember really enjoying it. I'd say it's a solid. It's the kind of solid like 7 out of 10 movie that like would never be in movie theaters anymore.
Hmm.
I remember really enjoying it, but when I was younger. But anyway.
Hmm.
Though Joel and Clem meet cute and continue to court cute in an outlandish seasons and locations, the bulk of the film is concerned with a low-tech sci-fi concept. A small firm materializes with a technological capacity to erase memories of failed romances from the brains of its embittered clients. First, Clem erases Joel from her mind, and then Joel accidentally finds out what she did and how she did it, and in retaliation orders the same procedure to zap his memory of her. But halfway through the procedure, Joel changes his mind, thus providing the zaniest part of the movie. Okay, I know. Sci-fi has never been my cup of tea, and least of all that branch of sci-fi that presumes to tamper the brain. I don't know about you, but even before I was operated on for a subdural hematoma a few years ago, I've never been comfortable with the idea of anyone poking around in my skull, or anyone else's for that matter, off screen or on screen or off. It's hard enough to remember one's life's experiences as it is, and so I can't imagine anyone so foolish as to seek scientific or sci-fi assistance in paying to forget. Has this person ever been in a relationship before? Trust me, there's the hurt from that, from a lot of relationships, is stuff that you maybe on a whim would probably wish to be rid of.
I mean, I get it. The instinct is you never want to fuck with the brain.
Yeah.
Anytime you see even Black Mirror people fucking with the brain, it's just never, you don't be like, ooh, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But it is the sci-fi element that it's supposed to be off-putting,
Yeah. It is, and it's also supposed to be like, I feel like a lot of people can find, like, I mean, he even said,
you could logic your way to,
relatable. You could, like
Like,
even not even like, logic. It's almost like a.
But do I think I would ever do that? Like, if I had that option, like, I don't. But I could see why someone might, or I could.
It's more of a lapse of logic,
right?
Is what it is. It's because it's an emotional thing to do. But
that's why it's an immoral business practice, because it preys on the people and their worst.
Right. Exactly. But that isn't the only problem I had with this movie. Mr. Gondry and Mr. Kaufman are fond of playing games with the audience by only gradually revealing the time reversals involved in the unfolding of the Joel-Clementine relationship. Hence, the narrative begins at a point in time when two characters seem to be meeting for the first time, but are actually renewing a romance that's been artificially erased from each of their memories. Mr. Gondry and Mr. Kaufman add a shaggy dog element to the sci-fi gimmickry, whereby Joel and Clem are chasing each other across fragments of time that eluded the memory erasers. It just so happens that I am sick of fragmentation as a narrative device. With a speeded up time machine at their disposal, Mr. Gondry and Mr. Kaufman prevent Joel and Clementine from having the time to establish an emotional rapport that is worth saving or remembering. There is little charm in the coupling and almost no erotic intimacy, just a series of nerve-wracking conversational collisions.
Okay. Not enough eroticism, and I get it. We all want it,
but that's not the point of the movie. This is the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Like literally, they're complaining that the movie is too intellectual for them.
Well, yeah.
Like to a certain degree, that's kind of what the complaint is here.
The point about having the time to establish an emotional rapport that we're saving or remembering, like I think it does well at, you get the initial interaction with them. So it's okay, it's a charming little, awkward guy meets outgoing, kind of crazy girl. And then you get bits and pieces, but then ultimately when you're trying to rescue the memory, that's when you get like, ooh, these memories are the ones that matter most to me. And you believe it because that's what we're seeing. So I think it's effective with it.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, you don't need I get that, like, a significant part of romance, and particularly in romance in films, is the eroticism, the sexual desire. But, like, to me, that's not really the point of the movie. Like, that, like, yes, there is an element of that that's important, I think, in most romantic relationships. I would say the vast majority of them. But, like, that's only one aspect, and this is tackling it from all angles. It's not just focusing on that one thing. So it's like,
yeah, like they showed him in bed. I remember that. I forget specifically, but it was one of the memories he had was them in bed, like doing something, joking around,
waking up. I think waking up and is he just like waking up and seeing her in?
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the sexual context, there was one part.
Oh, okay.
But they were like joking around, but yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're looking to, you could show that to build a relationship, but if you're looking to, like, I don't want to lose my memories, would that be, like, the top? Maybe. Like, I don't want to forget that I had sex with her.
Yeah.
That's, like, the core memory. It's like, geez, I guess, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
But the on-screen erotic intimacy, it's implied.
Sure. And I think that's kind of all you need, right?
I don't have to be turned on all the time.
Yeah. Do I have to always be reminded that I'm alone? No, I don't. As if they were aware of the emotional vacuum at the center of their story, the filmmakers have supplied a tangled subplot involving the shabby, low-rent operators of a psycho scam called Lacuna, or Lasuna. I think it might be Lacuna.
Maybe.
Dr. Howard Mearsvac, Tom Wilkinson, is literally the brains of the outfit, and he's assisted by two easily distracted technicians, Stan, Mark Ruffalo, and Patrick, Elijah Wood. The only other employee is Mary, Kirsten Dunst, the standard sexbot secretary, who ends up disrupting the entire operation after dalliances with both Stan and her boss. I detected a few titters from the audience over the horny shenanigans of the deviously lusty Lacune.
Lacune, okay.
At least these secondary characters are having the kind of relaxed fun denied the perpetually agitated lead lovers.
Damn,
So he's complaining. He's complaining that they suck, but he's like, but at least they're having fun.
Yeah, at least they're getting it on, like, unlike these two.
And I'm like, they're the weakest part of the movie.
They are the weakest part of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's always been my least favorite part. That's what's always kept it from being like a true masterpiece for me. Is like that stuff I give or take it. Especially the Elijah Wood character is so unbearable for me. It's like I took her panties. You know, he stole her panties.
Yeah. He stole her panties. Wow.
And then Mark Ruffalo and Kristen Dunst are like partying in their underwear on the bed where Joel is.
Yeah. Much of my disappointment is directed at the creatively quirky screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, who seems to have become the critics' darling after their slow, grudging approval of two of his previous efforts, both directed by Spike Jonze. I would say Johns because that's how it looks to me, but it's actually Jones. Being John Malkovich, 1999, and Adaptation, 2002. Unlike my colleagues, I liked Adaptation much more than Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but I'm not entirely sure who is to blame. Mr. Carey and Miss Winslet have, by the way, very respectful person here. Always is referring to them as Mr. and Miss. And Mr. Carey and Miss Winslet have done their best they could with what they were given in terms of non-existent character development. What do you mean? I disagree with this fundamentally. Miss Dunst, Mr. Ruffalo, and Mr. Wood deserve even higher marks for filling in the margins of their roles with energy and vivacity. I'm afraid that leaves the MTV-trained Mr. Gondry's direction to take the hit. Perhaps the closet literalist in me was frustrated by the lack of information I was given. For example, we never see where Joel worked or what he does for a living. He says at one point he's living with a woman named Naomi. Does she exist? There's no visual evidence one way or the other.
Well,
interesting.
I mean, so non-existent character development. They've done the best they could. I mean, it's like limited. It's like, you know, like you get the same kind of character from the beginning to end, sure, but sometimes I don't think that's you necessarily need a whole arc for a movie, you know, especially stylistically if you're trying to capture moments in time. And you can get a sense of the relationship devolving, which is enough for me. But
in the years I have tried to communicate what I think and feel about films, I have often said that I'm dealing with an art form that may or may not be profound, but certainly is complex. So many things can go wrong, so many intersections of reality and contrivance can become the sites of artistic disaster, and frequent failures are virtually guaranteed. So how do I know whether a movie clicks or not? About all I can come up with after all these years is to refer to that sector of my spinal column which begins to vibrate when an emotional connection is made with some felicitous conjunction of sound and image, theme and style, narrative and characterization. This has happened to me in the recent past with quirky movies like Lost in Translation, which is I think a movie we should probably watch on here at some point, Adaptation, and Groundhog Day. It just didn't happen with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and I'm truly sorry it didn't.
All right, that's the end of him talking about that movie. I think he goes into other stuff now.
Goes into other movies. So.
All right, so what do we think of Andrew Sarris's take on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I kind of, to some degree, it's like I kind of get where it doesn't. It's funny because it's like it's almost like it just doesn't seem like it's their kind of movie, you know? Like maybe that's kind of the issue.
He's very respectful with the Mr. and Miss, but at the same time, he really wants some eroticism, and he's just not getting it from this film.
He's not getting it. He's not getting it's too cerebral. Like that's almost what seemed to me. Like it's almost too maybe too clever for its own good. It might be a certain way to sum up.
His freaking spinal vertebrae to vibrate in just the right way that you do when you got emotional reaction to it.
I don't even know what that means.
When you think about Groundhog Day, Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh, ooh.
yeah. I don't even know.
That's
Yeah, you'd
good.
get chills.
Like I don't even think I like Groundhog Day alive. I don't. I guess,
It's a great movie,
but I
but
don't know if there's emotional resonance with both of these films in different ways.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Also, he mentions Lost in Translation, another Bill Murray film. Um,
Oh. Now we know where it lies. You know, he wants Bill
yeah,
Murray.
it just didn't have Bill Murray.
And
It
Jim
had
Carrey needs to be the
Jim
funny
Carrey.
man. He needs to be the
Yeah,
funny man.
yeah. There's like on the one hand, I do kind of like I could kind of respect uh, Mr. Sarris here for sticking to his guns, and being like, yeah, I didn't like it, and these are the reasons why. Um, I don't agree, but that's the the
Right?
joy of film criticism, I guess. So it's interesting that that's a seeming lack of like emotional sort of relatability to it, which I find interesting because like I don't agree. I think it's a very relatable
Yeah.
movie.
Because it was interesting. I wanted to check this. So Andrew Sarris, he passed away in 2012.
Oh,
So when he did this review, he was 76 years old.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense in terms of the way this is written.
Yeah.
The Mister, because it's like
Seasoned.
that comes from like an older school. How long did he write? Did he review films for? Do we know that? That's fine if you can't find that right away. But I
Um,
wonder if they were doing it from since like the 60s even.
I don't know. I was looking actually as a Wikipedia page, and I'm not sure.
Oh,
It looks like it says like 1960 to 2012, maybe. So he might have been active for decades doing it.
yeah,
But it
that's
says
pretty
he's an
impressive.
American film critic. He was a leading proponent of the auteur theory of film criticism.
Okay, interesting. That actually explains a lot of the criticism I think of the direction
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's like yeah the auteur is essentially like the director is the end all be all of the film. Um, so interesting.
Hmm.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, oh, that makes sense where he's coming from. Then I think even more now that I know that.
When asked for the greatest film of all time,
Hmm.
he named like a few foreign films, like
Interesting.
like this is a French movie, Madame de something. Also, my two runners-up, Ugetsu Monogatari and Renoir's La Règle du Jeu. Okay,
Um,
very nice.
yeah. What is Monogatari? That's I've heard. Um, Monogatari.
That's a Japanese one,
Yeah.
1953, period fantasy film.
Ugetsu Monogatari. Yeah. I've heard reference to this before.
Hmm.
Kenzie Mizugoshi starring Misa. Yeah. I've heard other. I think I probably saw a Criterion Closet where this was mentioned. Probably, I think by multiple people saying that it's really good. So
Yeah, I'm interested when he said this because he's got so many old school
mm,
films, like
that's
a bunch that I haven't heard of. One of them's Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times, but he also
mm,
said Buster Keaton's The General, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. You know, these are 50s, 40s, 60s,
yeah.
30s movies. So,
Yeah, so there's an appreciation for the kind of classic art of filmmaking
hmm.
in that. So
But yeah, who are we? We're a couple of schleps compared to this guy.
I guess so. Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
All right, you
he
got
knows he
that.
knows what he's talking
Fair enough.
about. Yeah. Well, hey,
Who am
it's
I
nice
to
to.
deny your eroticism at such an old age?
Yeah, that's interesting. He's just an old man. He just wanted a little bit of something exciting in his film.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but okay. Well, hey, you learned something new about the critic too. I think that's fun.
Hmm. Well, there you have it. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. We're unmoved in our opinion on it.
Mm.
I would still
No,
give it
still
a 9
pretty
out
good
of
film.
10 to this day.
Yeah, I think I'm due for a rewatch at some point. I should see if my housemates have seen it.
Yeah. No, when I was
They surprise me. They surprise me sometimes with the movies they have seen,
mhm.
and then the movies they have not seen. So
when I was watching our review to get some quotes, you actually mentioned that you asked them if they wanted to watch it, and they were like, "I've seen it before," or one of them was like, "I've seen it before. I enjoyed it, but it's kind of like sad. And I don't really want to. I don't want to feel get into that right now."
okay,
So,
interesting.
I
There it goes. There it goes.
I can only hear it when you're making noise. It's like
Oh
because otherwise
yeah.
it
All
busts
right.
it
So
out.
yep. Let's. Well, I'm gonna keep making some noise then, so just so you can hear a little bit of it. Yeah.
What the hell? What
Yahoo!
kind of
Quack!
alarm you got going on at 11 o'clock
That's,
at night?
that's crazy. Yeah, that's actually kind of wild that
Well,
that it's still going off now.
10:58.
Okay.
Weird
Yeah,
alarm.
I have it set a couple of minutes ahead.
Mm.
But
All right. There you have
anyway,
it. All right, so you can check out our review of Eternal Sunshine on the channel that we reviewed. Oh yeah, I meant to make note of that. It was in 2020, I believe. Some point in 2020 we reviewed that. So it must have been
okay.
December
Yeah,
2020.
had to have been
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder if I watched it. I must have watched it in my room here, if that's the case. I think I did. Yeah, I think I watched it in my room rather than
Mm-hmm.
out in the living room or the den.
All right, there you
But
have
yeah.
it.
All right. Well, there you go.
Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below letting us know your thoughts on all our Eternal Sunshine takes, as well as Andrew's and what's her name, Mary's. I don't remember her name.
I think so. Yeah.
Shall I pull up a random Tarqaron video to recommend?
Sure. Let's go for it. That's random rules, Zach.
Random rules, the new thing in the channel. Random rules.
The new thing.
Wait, what? All right, by random draw, I recommend our bargain bin, the video where you picked it out most recently, the March video where you picked out our game that we just reviewed or just talked about.
What?
What are the odds?
That's not high.
So yeah, the last we've done this 2 times. The first time was our picking out the pilot palette, and then now it's the bargain bin. You know, you gotta go see it. Respect the process. Random rules.
Respect the process.
Random rules. That's right.
Random rules.
So go check out our bargain bin series where we pick a random $5 or less video game to try out. And Alec picked it in the very video and revealed it to us. All right.
Yeah, you have to check it out.
And stay tuned for more here on the channel. All right.